Growing up often feels like trading freedom for responsibility, and the weight of adult expectations can be heavier than we imagined. The first hidden cost of growing up is realizing that the people who raised you were human, flawed, and sometimes unreliable. Childhood imaginations fade as practicality and societal rules start to dictate your choices. The joy of spontaneity diminishes as bills, deadlines, and obligations take over your days. Friendships that once seemed unbreakable sometimes fracture when life paths diverge. Family conflicts can feel sharper because now you notice their imperfections more clearly. The freedom to make mistakes without consequence slowly disappears. Anxiety often emerges as you begin to understand the fragility of financial and emotional stability. Growing up comes with the silent realization that your dreams may need compromise. Moments of pure wonder are replaced with quiet reflections on responsibilities. Self-doubt can creep in as society constantly compares your achievements to others. Trusting others becomes harder when betrayal or disappointment leaves lasting scars. Decisions that once seemed simple, like choosing a career, carry life-altering consequences. The pressure to succeed can create inner tension that no one else sees. Growing up sometimes means grieving the innocence you didn't even know you lost. Your own health becomes your responsibility, and ignoring it has real consequences. Dreams are no longer just ideas. They require planning, effort, and sacrifices. The weight of social expectations often conflicts with your personal desires. Time feels scarce, and you realize there will never be enough hours in the day. You discover that asking for help is harder than it should be. The people you admire as a child are no longer flawless heroes in your eyes. Mistakes that were forgivable as a child can carry long-term consequences as an adult. Responsibility can sometimes feel like a chain rather than a badge of honor. Independence can be lonely, even when it's something you've longed for. The line between ambition and burnout is thin, and crossing it can be invisible. You learn that financial mistakes have ripple effects, that last year's confidence is often built in private struggles no one sees. Growing up means realizing that most people are navigating life as uncertain as you are. Adult friendships require effort, compromise, and emotional labor that childhood never demanded. You begin to understand that life is more about balance than perfection. Choices once simple, like what to eat or wear, now carry subtle implications of status and judgment. Emotional resilience becomes essential because hardship is no longer optional. Growing up can bring the harsh realization that some dreams are impractical. The fear of failure often grows alongside responsibility. You notice that mental health is as important as physical health, yet less visible. Some joys become bittersweet because nostalgia reminds you of what you've lost. Adult life exposes the fragility of relationships you once took for granted. The freedom to explore without consequences shrinks with age. Identity becomes more complicated as you balance personal desires with societal expectations. You start measuring time not in play, but in achievements and obligations. Responsibility often feels like a burden rather than empowerment. The ability to forgive yourself can be more difficult than forgiving others. You discover that adults don't always have the answers, only experiences. Growing up teaches that some lessons only come through failure. Privacy becomes rare, and independence comes with loneliness. Life's unfairness becomes more apparent, and innocence can feel stolen. You realize that every choice has an unseen ripple effect on your future. Adult life often demands sacrifices that your younger self would resist. The cost of growing up is realizing the world is rarely black and white. Dreams sometimes feel like debts, obligations to oneself that are heavy to carry. The people who love you can disappoint you, and the pain feels sharper as an adult. You learn that happiness is not constant, but fleeting and earned. Guilt and responsibility weigh more as consequences become unavoidable. Growing up reveals that time with loved ones is precious, because it is limited. Life often tests patience in ways childhood never did. You may lose people who are central to your identity, forcing growth through grief. Adult life exposes the hidden costs of ignoring emotional needs early on. Responsibilities are invisible burdens until they are suddenly unavoidable. Self-sufficiency can feel isolating even as it grants freedom. The expectations of others can silently shape choices you thought were your own. Fear of judgment grows as society's scrutiny increases. You notice that resilience is less about toughness and more about persistence. The innocence of childhood friendships is replaced by conditional adult bonds. You learn that protecting your peace is an ongoing struggle. The weight of decisions often lingers long after they are made. Financial independence comes with anxiety. If you talk about responsibilities to others can conflict with the desires of your own heart. You discover that adult life often requires doing things you dislike for survival. Growing up means accepting that life is rarely fair or predictable. Freedom comes with invisible strings and responsibilities you cannot ignore. Some passions must be postponed, delayed, or abandoned entirely. Personal growth often feels painful because it demands leaving comfort behind. Adult conversations are often measured, strategic, and emotionally restrained. You realize that regrets are part of growth, not signs of failure. The thrill of discovery is often replaced by the stress of decision. You start noticing that time is your most valuable and limited resource. Emotional scars from childhood can resurface unexpectedly in adult life. Independence can make you feel proud yet profoundly alone at times. Sacrifices made silently for others often go unrecognized. Dreams sometimes collide with obligations, leaving compromise as the only option. Learning patience becomes a daily requirement. The loss of naive optimism is a hidden cost few acknowledge. Responsibility often feels like a burden until its rewards slowly appear. Adult relationships require negotiation, empathy, and careful boundaries. You realize that happiness often comes in fleeting, quiet moments rather than grand achievements. Mistakes that felt small in youth can have long-term consequences in adulthood. Growing up exposes the limitations of the world and the fragility of human life. You notice the slow disappearance of simple joys that once felt endless. The pressure to have it all together can mask inner struggles. Adult life often demands putting practicality over passion. Learning to forgive yourself is one of the hardest lessons of growing up. The price of independence is learning to rely on yourself first. Some childhood dreams cannot survive the realities of adult life. Adult grief is often deeper because responsibilities complicate loss. The simplicity of childhood gives way to layered complexities of life decisions. You begin to understand that life is often about navigating uncertainty rather than certainty. Financial pressures can create stress that subtly influences every aspect of life. Growing up reveals that every choice comes with hidden trade-offs. Even small successes can feel hollow when weighed against sacrifices. Ultimately, the hidden cost of growing up is realizing that freedom, responsibility, joy, and pain are inseparably intertwined.